Hey everyone, you're listening to the Turnkey Podcast, a podcast designed for hands-off, passive real estate rental investors. In the Turnkey Podcast, you'll hear Tom Olson and Jared Stoutmeister discuss all things turnkey rentals with other turnkey providers, service providers, and rental investors. Our goal is to help you reach your financial freedom and whatever comes after that. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Turnkey Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Stoutmeister, and as always, we have Tom Olson with us. And
not always.
Almost always.
This is how these podcasts always start. Jared has a plan, and I just derail them as fast as we possibly can.
Yeah, I don't think
it's kind of my goal in life.
Yeah, they wouldn't have argued with that, but you did.
Yes. So I'm not always here, but we are here today.
He's almost always here.
Today we have a special podcast. Obviously, it's different. You guys, if you guys are watching this, you're seeing that we're set up in a different room. Mm-hmm. This is not the studio. The sound may be a little bit different, so bear with us if it's not like you are used to listening to us, but I think you'll be able to hear us just fine. But we have a couple guests in from out of town. So, Jared, I'll give it back to you now.
I appreciate that. Thank you. We'll go back and forth here. So, if you've had a chance to get on the phone with me at all, my recommendation is always to come visit us. I can tell you how great we are as a group and how, what kind of product we provide. But usually I always, back that with, hey, you need to come and verify everything I told you. And so many times recently, last few weeks, we've had some guests coming in and taking me up on that, which I think is a really good idea, whether you invest with us or anybody else. You go anywhere and you're going to invest with a turnkey provider. My recommendation is you go visit them and verify everything that they're telling you to see that's legit or not. And because I always tell them, I could be the best salesman. Right, I could be. It's possible.
Why am I laughing right
Exactly, right. Now, for them, they don't laugh because they're like, wow, that's possible. You're right, Jared.
It's possible. But it's interesting. Even during COVID, it's almost been like once a week we have somebody that comes and pops their head in and says, hey, like, I want to meet your team. I've heard a lot about you. I spoke at a RIA meeting a couple nights ago, and they're like, I've heard so much about the property management company and how they're on top of things. And like, the property management's job is not to make sure everything's perfect. It's to make sure that when things don't go perfect, that they're on top of it. And really, like that to me, like I don't think you can have a better name than as a property management company than to be a good steward for your owners. So really, we've got some guests in the office today, and we just thought, hey, why don't we just say, to the people who've never met us. I'm not even sure if you guys have ever talked on the phone, Jared. Have you guys talked with these two gentlemen? But Mike is actually one of our clients, and honestly, Mike, I just wanted to publicly thank you for bringing people. Like to me, it's a big deal. It's actually an honor. Yeah. I'm kind of humbled that when people do recommend us and say, hey, like this is what I've been doing. I want you to come along with me on the journey, and maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe these guys will find something that you're missing that you should question, and that's totally like I want that. Like I want to get better, and if there's something that we need to do better, like let's do it. So I really do appreciate Mike for bringing in your guests.
So Mike, we said your name, but introduce yourself to everybody. I know you, but
so I'm Mike. I'm from Oregon. I'm a real estate broker. I've been in business pretty much my whole life in one sense or another. Yep.
Awesome. So, and how long have you been investing in real estate?
2007 when the market crashed the first time.
2007. So you got a little bit of experience now. You're talking approaching 15 years?
I was a fix and flipper back then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've kind of seen a few things.
I've seen a few things, yes.
Well, as an agent, you've seen a lot of things.
Yes, I've seen a lot of things. Some things I don't want to see again.
Sure. And we know those
Notice
things
he said Oregon. We're not going to hit that button anymore on this podcast, but...
Mike didn't, but we always have a good relationship, and I would just, you want to poke a little bit just for fun. So Mike,
it's kind of like when people live in California. It's
absolutely
kind of the same thing for us.
Very similar, but not the same, right?
It's all liberal left.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting. Actually, another one of our bigger clients just moved out of California into Idaho, and it's real, guys. I've been saying this. I really do believe that. The areas of the country, even through COVID, will there's going to be a benefit and there's going to be a negative effect, and we're already seeing it in different areas. We don't have time to belabor that on this podcast, but we've belabored that in other podcasts. Go back and listen.
Yeah. So Mike, why don't you introduce your guest for us, please?
So this is Len. He's from Salt Lake.
Okay.
And this is Trent. He's also from Salt Lake.
So then, what do you do?
I'm with retail management. I operate a local convenience store chain out there. Part of it.
Okay.
I have stores in 5 different states for them.
Oh, wow. How many stores are there?
350 total.
Wow. Okay. And you manage the whole...
I manage 1/5 of that.
Oh, wow.
So I have about 70, 80 stores that we oversee.
You're on the road a little bit?
A lot.
A lot, okay.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Are you at home a little bit?
Enough to keep my wife happy.
Okay, well, that
I was just going to wonder, is he married?
That's what it is. Okay, so you're home just enough to make her happy, so the rest of the time you're on the road. Okay, I got it.
I think she's happy when she's
And that makes her happy.
Sure.
You're right.
Now
You got
it's
the balance.
coming together. Sure. All right, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Trent Biesinger. I do industrial electrical sales. I've been doing that for 34 years.
Okay.
So, and it's in a regional area, so I don't do a lot of traveling. Once in a while we do, but
So why are you guys interested in real estate?
definitely looking at other, resource avenues to diversify income, and different things like that. And I've dabbled a little bit in flipping homes, and I've invested in properties and stuff. So Mike and I have been friends for over 30 years, and we've been talking. We always talk about different things, and so I said I'm definitely interested in coming back here and getting to know you guys better and understanding the program.
It has been it's been a long time coming. We've been talking about this trip for quite some time.
We have,
So
yeah.
yeah. How about you, Lynn?
Well, my motivation's a little bit different. Fortunately, I'm 3 months away from retiring.
Oh wow.
And after spending 40 years in my profession, I'm looking for opportunities to sort of reinvent myself. And property and hard assets, it's always been very attractive to me. And so I'm looking for opportunities to diversify out of stocks and get into something a little bit more solid.
And have you done real estate investing at all?
I have minimal experience with real estate.
Okay.
But that's what's exciting about it, right? It's part of that reinvention thing.
Well,
It's interesting. I think I have actually heard 3 or 4 people literally in the last 2 weeks, say, even my brother-in-law who knows me really well, he's like, yeah, I'm really nervous right now in the stock market. It is very volatile.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that you just said, hard assets, and I do believe in that. Especially right now, we've printed so much money. It is just, it's going to happen. Even the whole $15 an hour minimum wage. I mean, you guys might already have this in your states, but what happens exactly after that happens? Everything has to go up in price. So it's not like out there somewhere. It is just simple economics. When things cost more, then the consumer or the buyer has to pay more for that product. So, and in my opinion, one of the only places to hedge your bets against that is maybe metals, gold and silver. I think silver is still undervalued, honestly, and I'm not really a silver expert, but I know enough about it to know that silver is still way undervalued. And a place like real estate where even if it ebbs and flows, if it's rented, it doesn't even know the value to a certain degree. I'll give you an example of 2008, for instance, in our market. There was houses in Maryville, Indiana here. We're right next to where we're at. That I still remember these houses. They were renting at $1,250 before 2008. They were renting at $1,250 after 2008, and the property value went from maybe $100,000 to maybe $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, depending on who you talk to. Right? That property didn't know that value dropped, and then now that same property is probably worth $180,000. So you know what I mean? You can weather. It's different than a stock, unless you're in high dividend stocks. And I think if I was more invested in stock market, which I'm not, because I feel like somebody else makes all the money, and I don't understand. It's not a 1-to-1 ratio with your money into the deal. I stick more on things that I understand and I can touch and feel and have a little bit more control over myself personally. But I think those are great. I really do appreciate you guys coming out. And like Jared said, we do really recommend this for anybody who's ever going to go buy from anybody, not just from us. To me, obviously, there's a little bit of us marketing our company and what we do here on this Active Turnkey podcast, but I hope that we're giving education, whether you're going to buy in Florida. Honestly, I think Florida's a great place to buy right now. I'm wanting to move some of my own money in Florida right now. People are moving to Florida just as fast almost as they're moving to Texas. I think you have to consider that, but it doesn't matter where you're going, where you're sending your money to. I think it's a good idea to understand not just the assets, not just the areas, the houses, the renters, the economics around the market, but who is the person that's really stewarding that asset? Who are those people? And I think all those things really matter. And I think you guys have done a good job coming out here today. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, before we get into a little bit more, I do want to kind of pull a little bit more out of you. So typically, you come because you're interested, but what are you looking to take away? What are some of the key things that that would be good or bad that you feel you need to know when you come and visit a company like us?
For me, it's actually seeing, the brick and mortar building that you guys work out of, understanding, the whole process from start to finish, understanding the rehabs, what we're putting into the houses and all that. And my takeaway, is I want to make sure that I'm invested in a solid company that's going to be here for a while,
Awesome.
So obviously Mike's given me his opinion, but, I'd like to see it for myself and get a better understanding of the whole picture. So
that's really good.
Why I'm here.
Lynn?
I think I want to understand the heart of the company.
Okay.
One of the first things that attracted me was sort of your value board out front, and I really want to have time to understand that because from my experience, if I understand you and where you're coming from and what you're about, that's going to help develop trust for me, right?
Awesome.
The second objective, again, going back to that reinvention statement that I made earlier, I'm a father of 7 children, right? And the last one is at home. He's 19 years old. And I think this would be a great way, as I go into retirement, to sort of train and teach him on how to do something significant with his life so that he wouldn't have to go through some of the same rigors I did in terms of being able to afford a comfortable lifestyle.
One of the reasons I asked that question is because it is interesting the different perspectives people want to come and get. I will tell you, most people don't come for your question. I think your experience in construction or your business probably does bring that into mattering. A lot of people, they're coming for the deal or they want to come vet the area. Maybe that's a concern for them, whether it be Gary or something like that. So it is interesting to know the different motivations. I have a son who's 17 and he's been working with the company, and one of the cool things that he was talking to me about investing in Tesla's new, or not Tesla, what's the guy's name who owns the
Musk?
Yeah, Musk, his new company coming out. He wants to invest in stocks because he heard about it. He thinks he's gonna be one of the first people in there, but he's investing in our company, and he's actually literally lending money to our company that he works and makes when he's mowing lawns. So I'm with you, and getting them involved and having them avoid some of those things. I think it's pretty awesome.
I thought a lot of good points were brought up. I actually did a series. I know this has been years. We probably should bring this out, like questions to ask a property management company when you're going to vet them. And a couple of your questions, I actually had on there. Number one, go to the actual place that they work and see that they're real. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's like. Honestly, there's so many scams out there, and I can't stress this enough. I know so many people who have bought houses at a conference with 10,000 people in Vegas, and it's like they find out like there's not even a house there, and it's like so that is a real concern. And just finding that there's a building here and finding that there's an actual company behind it. I think knowing the process, you said, like, what is the whole process? What do we go through? And then also the actual rehab. I think it kind of bodes into the process, maybe the finishes that you might see at the properties. But also, I think you brought up a good point. Like, know that we're going to be here. That's one of the questions that I would ask a property manager if I was going to invest in another area and I was going to hire them. Is how long do you plan on being in business? Is this something where you're going to get bored and you're just going to say in a year or two, like, it's time to go, or is this something you're going to be around here for a good amount of time? So I think those are really good. And then I really love the social aspect and the social conscience aspect of like knowing the heart of the company and knowing that your core values align. I think that is so important. I think we ought to do this with our kids more. I preach that quite often in Good Success and other companies that I'm a part of. But the core values, I think, are really important to make sure that you are aligned. And honestly, the company that you might go see might have great core values, but they just might not be what you want them to be. And if that's the case for us, then I would tell you, don't invest with us. Go find other people that you can really align with. And some people's cultures are cutthroat, and if that's who you are, and if you want that like culture in your investment, then go for it. We're not that way. Our number one core value is charity, and for me, charity means love. Like, to me, I'm going to come with that heart first, and I'm going to assume the best if I possibly can. I'm going to try to be kind up front. And if that doesn't work, well, then we have to go to stewardship, which is our second core value. And knowing, okay, I still have to be a good steward, and I still have to make sure that we do rule with an iron fist, when it comes time, to make sure that happens. So those are great. I really do appreciate that. And honestly, if you're interested in looking at a turnkey property management company, I would tell you to come and, not just with us, but anywhere you go, try to see those things about those people.
Well, I think it's really important too. So so again, the perspective today was really interesting, and that's why we hosted you guys on the podcast, is because not only do we have a guest who's never worked with us, but we also had somebody who's worked with us for quite some time. And so it's been several years that, and Mike and I have been communicating for 5 years probably now.
6.5.
6.5. Okay, he's got down to the day. Okay, I need to be better, which I get that a lot. No, but it's really important because, like he said, you can have the core values on the door or on the wall. But when stuff happens, which it always does, do you actually run your business by your core values, or is it just a marketing piece? Is just something you say you do? And so now really in the end, Mike is somebody, again, we've been communicating for 6.5 years, I've been investing for about 4-ish, 2.5. Okay, so
Man, Jared, you're just betting 1,000.
I am. I knew all this. I'm just trying to get him to talk. So I'm just kidding. So you tell us, how has your experience been thus far from working with the Olsen Group?
It's been good. I mean, there's been some issues that have come up, but you guys have been great to deal with. I mean, for example, you guys did a rehab. I bought the house. 2 months later, hot water heater went out. Had a brand new hot water heater. Pulled out the scope of work. Said, hey, you guys need to take care of this. Done. You know, and that's, to me, that's great. Those are great things. I wish there was more inventory to pick from. That's my big complaint. But, you know, besides that, no, things have been good with you guys. I mean, you've communicated with me well. You always get back to me. Cheryl does great with property management. You know, with COVID, there's been some obstacles, but that's, I think, with every business, people have obstacles right now with just what's going on. And we've made it through it. I mean, I'm very happy with where I'm at right now with the 6 properties that I have. So
Good.
Yeah.
That's good feedback. I appreciate that. And I even wrote down more inventory to pick from. It's kind of funny because it's one of my initiatives this year. My initiatives this year is to be able to scale, because it's really not like acquisition that's hard to scale. Honestly, like everybody says acquisition's a problem. Like I know how to scale the acquisition. Like I can turn the spigot on for acquisition. To me, like the hardest part to scale in my opinion right now, for me is construction. Like how do I not only do way more rehabs, but also make sure the quality control is there, make sure that I'm happy and I'm willing to put my name on that product. So that's kind of one of my big initiatives. My company knows that. Is that by the end of this year, like I don't want to be built to be able to rehab 100 properties. I want to be able to be able to rehab 400 properties, or maybe add new construction to the mix as well with our turnkey product. So and again, like as a business owner, I'm always not just listening for the things that people are happy with, but I'm really interested in the things that maybe we can do better on. I honestly have no idea how Mike's properties go, so we're kind of like on a little bit of a faith here that maybe that they've been going good. And honestly, I think I don't hear it. As an owner, I'm not in the day to day. I don't really know how people's properties are performing one-on-one unless like I get involved in a situation, which I rarely do. Cheryl really does a great job, and if Cheryl can't handle it, Jared helps and steps in. But that's one of the things that you brought up. If we did something in the scope of work, and it says we do guarantee that for a year, so like you said. And it's funny you mentioned hot water heater. I just had a hot water put in my house, my own personal house, and it started leaking like 2 days after, and I'm like, this is my own freaking house. Like things happen. You can't expect, you really cannot expect things to be perfect all the time. They're just not. And it wasn't a cheap water heater either. So it's like, what in the world? But I'm glad that we took care of that for you, and it is something that we do stand by. If we did something in the scope of work, we do stand by it for at least a whole year. And we don't really like to go beyond that, but if it's obvious that it's something that we did wrong, we do want to try to make that happen on the back end. And to me, like that just goes into like who we are, and that fact that we do want to stand by. And I think a good name is well more to be chosen. Much rather have a good name in the community. And like to me, it shows that we have a good name with Mike because he's willing to like also bring his friends, to come see us. So
now again, all this is, so these guys, they've just come in. And they haven't even seen anything yet. We got them right in the studio, right in the conference room, and got a podcast. And so the point of all this is we invite you to come and to touch it, to feel that it's tangible, to see the rehabs, actually see as opposed to pictures, because believe it or not, people do manipulate photos. It happens.
That happened to me.
Yes. So we want you to come in and see.
Do we have time for that story? So I had a contractor.
Yes.
No, I literally had a contractor, and he sent me a picture of a finished kitchen, and it wasn't my finished kitchen. Like, so his job was to send us pictures, and I'm just like, what? Like, we went out to the property like a month later, and the kitchen hadn't even been started. Like, it was, and he sent me a picture of finished kitchen. And I'm like, so yeah, you're right. People can manipulate pictures.
Yeah, they can. And now, I mean, you'd like to think that the people you're working with wouldn't do such a thing, but it does happen. So in fact, I had our photographer guy. He went out there, took the pictures of the house, and in the driveway there was like a pile of leaves or something that he edited out, and I'm like, it looks way too white. Like the driveway was like a bright. I'm like, that needs to be. We need to take that picture out or something because it looks too clean. So,
well, I think it's important to have third-party photos. Like
Yeah.
all of our photos are third-party photos.
Yeah.
And then but it is. I think it's good. Like the guy that took our pictures on another property told us about a storm had come and had knocked down one of our electric lines. So, anyways.
No, that's good. So ultimately the point is trying to get you in. You can see it for yourself. And we'll see at the end of the day if it measures up. And in many cases, there are certain things they may or may not like. And that's the whole point of coming, is verifying all of that. So if you, like these gentlemen, are interested in buying or investing in retail or rental turnkey properties, we'd love to have you come on in. I'll host you personally. We are moving that in the future to Fridays. So just know ahead of time that on Fridays we will open up my schedule and we'll do it on a Friday. We'll host you. I'll take you out. You get to go to properties. You get to see the area and verify and decide, hey, what do I want my portfolio to look like? Anything else, Tom?
I think that's it. I really do. Again, I appreciate you guys for coming in. Appreciate you, Mike, for referring our company and our names. And thank you for being willing to be on a podcast. And I know it's a little bit different. You probably haven't been on a video podcast that will get posted and probably a couple thousand people will listen to or watch. But we really do appreciate you guys, and we appreciate you, Mike. And Jared does a great job, and I have more faith in Jared than almost anybody else that works for me here. And he's been a really good steward of my business. And so let's do it. Let's make it happen. And
all right, well, we're going to go out in the field. I appreciate you joining us. And if this podcast brought you value, please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff that you've heard a million times from everybody else in the world. So
and if you're one of our customers, bring one of your friends out to see us.
Absolutely. That'd be great. It'd be great for you to be able to share what you have, and we appreciate it very much.
Be a conduit, not a bucket.
There it is. Good success. And absolutely. So we appreciate your time. Active Turnkey.
The best way to buy rentals.
See you guys.
Olson Group Network makes no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional advice. Unless specifically stated otherwise, Olson Group Network does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast, and information from this podcast should not be referenced in any way to imply such approval or endorsement. Any third-party materials or content of any third-party site referenced in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions, standards, or policies of Olson Group Network. Olson Group Network assumes no responsibility or liability for the accuracy or completeness of the content contained in third-party materials or on third-party sites referenced in this podcast, or the compliance with the applicable laws of such materials and/or links referenced herein.